Hello everyone and welcome back to Fight, the series on the internet in which two characters meet up and duke it out. See who wins. I'm Jake and today I'm joined by Rio. Say hello, Rio.
Hello, Mind Turtle.
And today we are facing off two of the most powerful psychics in their respective universes. I am arguing for Mewtwo from Pokemon.
I'm arguing for Sylar from the Heroes verse.
So, anyway, I would like to mention that the version of Mewtwo that I am using is a combination of the one from the games, the anime, and a little bit from the manga.
I'm going to be using the Sylar present in the final episode of Season 1, so think of the Sylar that we see in Kirby Plaza, fighting the other hero. So, no, he cannot heal, because that's an ability he gets after the showdown at Kirby Plaza.
And I would like to mention we are recording this episode on Friday, June 19th, so any alterations made to those versions of these characters are notwithstanding.
Yes.
So, I will have my opening statements first, I suppose. Mewtwo is a Pokemon that was created from the DNA of one of the gods of all Pokemon named Mew. It has multiple times been cited to be the most powerful Pokemon there ever was. Mewtwo stands at 6 foot 7 inches, weighs 269 pounds, and is number 150 in the Pokedex. It's a Psychic type, which means it is weak to Bug, Ghost, and Dark attacks, but I don't think Sylar has any of those in his arsenal. Mewtwo is the most powerful Psychic creature in its universe. It has extremely powerful telekinesis and mind-reading abilities, allowing it to lift cars, people, and several-ton Pokemon with ease. And other attacks in its arsenal include Calm Mind, which allow it to boost its defensive capabilities as well as its offensive capabilities. It has the ability to burn and paralyze others. It can protect itself, heal itself. It has a variety of different typed attacks, including ice attacks, fire attacks, electric attacks, and grass-based attacks. And it also has extremely powerful concussive blows in the form of moves such as Aura Sphere. It is extremely fast and extremely powerful, and some incarnations of Mewtwo, but not the one I am using at this moment, wear an armor that further bolsters its power.
Are you going to be using the Spoons of Destiny from the manga?
No.
Okay. So should I go now? Having interrupted you. Okay. So, Sylar is... Sylar was a young boy in New York, from a sort of struggling family. His father left him when he was very young. However, Sylar discovered he had the ability of intuitive aptitude as his base ability, which is an ability that allows him to understand an object and its inner mechanisms and how it works by sort of looking at it, analyzing it. He later discovered, after an encounter with a telekinetic named Brian Davis, that he could use this to steal powers of other superhumans by understanding how their abilities work and how to unlock certain genetic keys in himself to simulate those abilities. So remember, I'm using the Sylar that fought the other heroes at Kirby Plaza. So while he has several abilities, there are primarily 4 of his abilities that I'm going to be using in this fight, because the other 3 will probably not have any bearing. The first one is his main offensive abilities, the sort of ability he's known and famed for, which is his telekinesis. Sylar has demonstrated very advanced telekinetic abilities. This is partially due to his intuitive aptitude, which allows him to gain immediate mastery of a power upon stealing it. He can effortlessly exert enough telekinetic force to flip an armored truck, like an FBI-issued armored truck, and rip its doors off its hinges without much effort. He has enough control to create fine cuts, fine wounds. He's fast enough with his telekinesis to catch bullets out of the air before they hit him, and can exert enough force to return pretty much any attack back at its sender with the force it was sent at him. He typically uses hand gestures to focus his abilities. However, as we saw during his fight with Eric Doyle, those are not necessary. He can focus his power just through will, sheer power of will. He can also levitate himself telekinetically to an extent, though this is less flying and more sort of improving his jumping ability. Yeah. He's shown enough fine control to also levitate incredibly delicate objects like glass and fire them without shatter. In various directions, he can manipulate multiple objects at once. Sylar's second offensive ability, his secondary offensive ability, is his ability to freeze things. He can reduce the temperature of matter, causing it to freeze. This power has shown to be enough to coat a large stretch of highway with ice in seconds. And he has shown to make objects cold enough to shatter metal, as shown during his first fight with Hiro Nakamura, where he shattered Hiro's sword by freezing it. He can rapidly freeze a human body or theoretically a Pokemon body as well. However, the limitation of this freezing ability is that he does need to not necessarily make physical contact, but he does need to be very, very close to his opponent for it to work. It's a very short-range ability. Sylar also has enhanced hearing. He can hear very well. He has incredibly powerful ears. He has mastery over this ability. He is able to focus on sounds from large distances away, even in crowded areas such as New York. He's able to listen in on one conversation that's happening several hundred feet away. He's able to detect if people are lying or nervous. He's able to essentially sense a person's emotions by listening to their heartbeat. He can hear a pin drop from away, is what he claimed. And his third, arguably most powerful offensive ability is his ability to create and control radio energies. This is identical to one that Peter Petrelli demonstrated as copied from the same person, Ted Sprigg. Peter is shown to generate enough radioactive energy to destroy a city, to destroy pretty much half of New York, is what they said his power can do, and Sylar has mastery over this, whereas Peter does not, so he could theoretically generate that much energy and focus it into a beam. He's also capable of creating electromagnetic pulses, which is something Peter cannot do with radiation, so if Mewtwo was wearing his armor, Sylar could effectively shut it down. He can conjure fireballs because he has incredibly fine control over it and hold them with incredible dexterity. Something that is generally not a problem, but I would like to mention, is that Sylar's intuitive aptitude ability to understand things, does give him minor resistance to telepathy, as seen in Season 4 when Matt Hartman tried to shut off Sylar's powers. So some of Mewtwo's psychic attacks will not really affect Sylar as much as they would already. So, shall we begin the debate?
Yes. So, okay, I would like to begin my arguments by bringing up a couple of Mewtwo's moves that will give him a distinct edge. The first move is Safeguard. Now, in the Pokemon games, this creates a protective field that prevents status problems. Now, many of Sylar's attacks could be considered a status problem. For example, the freezing. There's a condition in the game called, frozen, but Safeguard prevents that condition from being applied to Mewtwo for several turns. So Sylar would not be able to use his freezing ability on Mewtwo. Furthermore, Mewtwo has an ability called Disable. For 4 turns, this move prevents the target from using the move it's last used. So, Mewtwo could, for a period of time, effectively disable one of Sylar's powers. Any one. Mewtwo also has the ability to Power Swap. So, if it wanted to, it could switch out its own extremely powerful psychic abilities for some of Sylar's powers. It has the move Barrier, which increases its own defenses. It has the move Me First, which allows it to move faster than Sylar and use whatever attack Sylar was about to use, except Mewtwo would be the one using it on Sylar. Mewtwo can increase its own capacities with a move called Calm Mind, as well as a move called Bulk Up. Mewtwo can cause a sandstorm that may or may not cause continuous damage to Sylar. It can create earthquakes, cause rainstorms, create screens that defend it from many attacks, fire balls of darkness, lower Sylar's maneuverability by dropping tombs of rock, firing off blasts of fire, paralyzing Sylar, making a magic room, or, excuse me, not magic room. Alright, increasing the effects of gravity so that Sylar would not be able to fly. It can use a ability called Wonder Room, where, for example, say Sylar was, Sylar is extremely resistant to Mewtwo's mind control attacks, as you were saying. If Mewtwo were to use his ability Wonder Room, Sylar would instead be extremely resistant to physical attack, but his mind would be more open. Rio?
The problem I have with your Wonder Room thing is Sylar's resistance to telepathy is not sort of a specific power, as a Pokemon Special Defense is. It's a side effect of another power, so, unless Wonder Room would physically switch Sylar's intuitive aptitude off, it can do nothing to change Sylar's immunity to, or pseudo-immunity to telepathy. In addition, I'm not sure if Mewtwo has a real answer to Sylar's radiation ability. As I mentioned, another user of this radiation ability was capable of creating an explosion large enough to destroy half of New York City, and kill about 4 million people all in sort of one fell swoop.
It does have disable.
Yes, but I'm saying Sylar would have to use it first for Mewtwo to disable it. So Sylar created an explosion of that size. I really think Mewtwo would just be atomized. Sylar, that would probably be a last.
Hold on. Sylar is resistant to his own nuclear explosion, yes?
He's completely immune to all forms of radiation.
Mewtwo has an ability called Guard Swap, which switches Mewtwo's own defensive capacity with Sylar's.
Maybe. I really don't think Sylar's telekinesis will be a thing, really, in this battle, because they are both incredibly powerful telekinetics, and they could probably just neutralize each other's telekinesis. In addition, Sylar could probably hear all of Mewtwo's attacks coming, based on how he can... based on the fact that his hearing is sensitive enough to determine a person's emotional state by listening to them, to their heartbeat and the sort of the sloshing of chemicals in their bodies. I think if...
However, Sylar's intuitive aptitude would allow him to understand how music works.
Yes. It's less of a human thing. Mewtwo does have blood and organs and all of that inside of him, which would respond to different emotional conditions and different actions his body decides to take. So Sylar could preemptively determine Mewtwo's attack if he listens close enough.
However, Mewtwo does have a somewhat check to Sylar in that Mewtwo has access to certain moves that will hit 100% of the time under all conditions.
Yes, but those moves can't be blocked by things like Protect or Mat Block.
Yes.
And Sylar has shown that his telekinesis serves as an impeccable defense. He's even used it to, after getting hit, stitch himself up or lessen the kinetic energy transference from an attack if he is caught off guard. Like there's a scene where Noah Bennett shoots Sylar about, like empties a clip from a gun into Sylar. And Sylar didn't have time to stop the bullets, but was able to disperse the kinetic energy from the bullets over his body, so he didn't, get the sort of acute puncture wound you get from bullets.
So, however, Mewtwo does have an answer to Sylar's radiation bomb in the move Protect. It is a indefinite protection. No matter what is thrown at the Protect, it will survive. However, it can only be used for a brief time, and Mewtwo must use another move in between uses of Protect.
Well, the other thing is, we never actually get to see what happens. Oh wait, yes we do. So, when Sylar explodes, when he creates that big explosion, there is a very, very, very brief recharge time, where he can't use any of his powers, probably about maybe 40 seconds. So he could use it if Mewtwo protected, and then turned off Protect. Sylar could probably survive for long enough to deal a second one. And as pretty much anyone who's played Pokemon knows, Protect doesn't generally work 2 times in a row.
Well, I mean, so you said Sylar has a recharge
so Sylar
of 40 seconds. So Mewtwo protects, radiation explosion. Protect goes down, Sylar is weak, and then Mewtwo can unleash every single attack in his arsenal and completely obliterate Sylar. So using his radiation thing is not a good option for Sylar.
But the other thing is, if Sylar does the radiation explosion, it's the exact same thing that happened in Hiroshima, just worse. So if Mewtwo drops his Protect, like, the air and the ground around him will still be radioactive. There will still be debris and whatever in the air.
If Mewtwo had used the move Safeguard prior to that, the radiation would be non-effective.
Good point. That's actually a very valid point. In addition, you mentioned that Mewtwo using Safeguard can become immune to freezing.
Yes.
However, it only works on himself. It doesn't work on his surroundings. So while Mewtwo himself couldn't be frozen, say the air around him could be, Sylar could freeze the air. Sylar could freeze the air or the concrete around himself and make sort of big spikes of ice and use telekinesis to fling them at Mewtwo at speeds rivaling that of a bullet fired from a handgun.
Mewtwo also can create telekinetic shield, and I'm not talking about the move Protect. I'm speaking of in the anime, Mewtwo has been seen to easily protect himself with protective psychic shields that are distinctly psychic in nature and not the move Protect.
Yes.
And then Mewtwo has also seen to have fairly incredible natural durability and has gone toe-to-toe with gods on multiple occasions.
Yeah. Well, because, as we mentioned, if one of us feels like we're in a stalemate, we might start calling on more obscure powers.
One moment. I actually have an obscure power I'd like to mention right now. So, Jake, you said that you feel that Mewtwo and Sylar are equal psychics, right?
Telekinetically. Sylar doesn't have any telekinetic abilities, but I'd argue their telekinesis is equal.
Okay. Well, in the anime, without so much as holding a Megastone, Mewtwo was able to transform into Mega Mewtwo Y without holding a Megastone. And Mega Mewtwo Y is a form of Mewtwo that has greatly enhanced psychic abilities. So by transforming into Mega Mewtwo Y, I feel like Mewtwo could strong-arm Sylar into victory.
So, 2 abilities that Sylar has that I know anyone who's watched Season 1 of Heroes will want me to bring up is Sylar's ability to shatter objects and melt objects by touching them. I don't think, there's no status effect in Pokemon that is like melting, so I don't think Mewtwo's Safeguard could apply to melting. Sylar has shown that he can melt all sorts of matter, so he could theoretically melt through Mewtwo's shields if he wanted. Even if he couldn't,
Mewtwo's
Shattering.
skills are psychic in nature, not physical.
Okay. Maybe he couldn't melt it, but think of shattering as like a working finger gun in a way. But he could shatter Mewtwo's shields because it's shattering is one of the less thought about powers. But he can't. Another user of this power showed that they could shatter pretty much anything just by pointing at it. She was able to shatter a sink, a light bulb. So pretty much by pointing at anything and moving his thumb, pointing at it with the index finger and then moving his thumb, Sylar can shatter pretty much any form of matter. That includes the ground around Mewtwo. The ground Mewtwo standing. What?
Mewtwo can fly. He has been shown in the anime to use his telekinesis to fly.
Yeah, he can. Yes, I'm aware he can fly, but Sylar, if Mewtwo was flying near an object, Sylar could just shatter that, or he could just melt. He could just melt it. With Sylar's melting powers, because Safeguard doesn't protect Mewtwo from that, if Sylar is physically capable of laying a hand on Mewtwo, Sylar wins, because Sylar could just melt Mewtwo's flesh.
Yes, but Mewtwo could, in Mega Mewtwo Y form, Mewtwo could still easily overpower Sylar's telekinesis. Well, maybe not easily, but he could.
Yes.
There's also the fact that Mewtwo has been shown to create effectively hurricanes with his psychic ability, and Mewtwo can call down thunderbolt, or like lightning from the sky.
Yeah. I'm honestly going to say just because of, not because of the potency of his abilities necessarily, but just because of the diversity of his abilities, I'm going to say that Mewtwo will probably win this fight. I'm not going to say it would be an...
I think it's like 75 fights out of 100 Mewtwo wins, and then 25 fights out of 100 Sylar wins.
But based on how many, based on our rules, that would technically count as a win for Mewtwo.
Yes.
Because a higher chance that he would win than he would lose. But it is possible that Sylar could win that fight. It all depends on whether or not Sylar can touch Mewtwo before Mewtwo is able to transform.
Indeed.
Mega Mewtwo would absolutely decimate Sylar. However, Sylar does stand a chance against base Mewtwo. So if Sylar was able to lay a hand on Mewtwo before or as it was transforming, Sylar could win that fight by melting Mewtwo.
Yes. So this has been Fight Night with Jake and Rio, and the victor has been decided as Mewtwo, the strongest Pokemon there ever was. Hope to see you next time. Bye now.